Right, here's the thing. We're moving on to Thorin's bad point. So you know this is going to be straight fire. Everyone get ready to get their feelings hurt and get out the fucking Kleenex and start typing angry YouTube comments. Because are you ready? I'm just going to say it. It's only 3 words, Snappy. Do you know what my bad point is?
No.
Smooya on LAN. Because here's the thing I don't get, mate. Did I wake up in another dimension eating the crazy pills and all other associated cliches for American media culture? Because here's what I don't get, Maui Snake. I've seen Smooya play for like half a decade now. Like he was in the Cologne final in 2018 with Big. Why are we acting, right? Why are people doing this? Why are people acting like he's like a brand new player that just came up in FPL last year and he was like carrying tier 2? We just retconned his whole past, dude. We've just made it say he only started playing from like Flashpoint 1 onwards and that's all that counts. Because here's the reason I bring this up. Because he's not a spring chicken. The odds he was going to come to LAN and then just progressively every 3 months get like 25% better. It's not likely. Like he's played so many years in his career. So I will say this. I think for where Fnatic was last year, and you look at who was available, that was actually the best pickup they could do. You had to gamble on him. He was tearing up tier 2 online. He looked amazing in that fucking, the Spanish team. He did look super sick there. He was carrying everything. But it was a gamble. It was always a gamble in my opinion. And then you add in the baggage of his personality. It was always a gamble, this move, right? It might work. It was worth a crack. I still would have given him a couple more tournaments, assuming it's not purely like being an arsehole off camera that's cost him his spot. But I also do think like people did almost make out like he was just going to instantly translate online dominance in tier 2 and just be equally as good at tier 1. And this is another, you can tie this back in again as to why the gun itself of the AWP isn't overpowered. Because if the gun itself is overpowered, all these AWPers would shit on everyone as well. But you know what? You get to LAN and you find out a LAN AWP is a really fucking hard gun to use. You try it. This is why I always used to say back in the day, Snappy in 1.6, I used to say, if you look in online play, like 3 out of every 5 teams, 3 out of every 5 pro players in a team online thinks they can AWP. But you go to LAN, play CT side in 1.6 on Dust 2, do it where you fuck up pistol round and then you do your full buy on the 4th round CT. So all you're getting is an AWP and armor and maybe a flashbang. That fucking round is like squeaky bomb time, as we say in English, mate, because if you fuck that round up, the whole half is over, and you basically have to just carry that round. That round right there is pressure like you've never felt in your whole career if you've been playing online, just when you feel like it, fuck it, pull out the AWP. So my problem in this scenario is like, Smooya needed to literally be not only arguably the best player in Fnatic, but he needed to be one of the better players in the world for this move to make sense. Now, I will say, I'm not doing the context of like, who are they replacing him with? I don't know what's going on with that whole clusterfuck there. But I just don't think it's as egregious as other people do that, like, he was removed from the team or whatever. Like, I did think this tournament, he was pretty whack. And I saw from Mousesnake's video, I saw you at least on a similar page. Because the other thing people are doing now, Mousesnake, it's a pet peeve of mine at the moment, is they do the logic of, this is how you know when someone actually is just a stan. They just go, yeah, but he's not the worst player in the team. It's like, oh, what? Yes, the AWPer! That would be like saying in a football team, like, what do you mean the striker's doing badly? He scored 4 goals, and all the defenders have scored. That's like, first of all, 4 goals for a striker's terrible, and the defenders you meant to score. What does that even mean? You know what I mean? Like, because I saw a lot of those arguments. Like, I saw people trying to stats defend him, Maui, which is like, that's the one area you can't defend him, you fucks. You're supposed to come with some like eye test angle to explain why I'm supposed to believe that. So what do you guys think on this one? I'm obviously going hard on it, but I don't think it was egregious that he was removed, you know.
I think it was like, to me, like it has to be personality issues because
yes,
I think the main reason Fnatic started to pop off was because when he came in, he played amazing. Obviously, as you said, it was online, but still, I think it kind of like, I guess it has to be personalities. I think some of the losses maybe got too much into their heads, and then suddenly you kind of overthink things. I think Smooya on LAN, I suppose, is not I don't think he's a bad LAN player. Like, I think he played good LANs in the past. But as soon as the chemistry is kind of gone, and I don't know if this was the case, but I guess it was, if it was already decided he was going to be out before the LAN.
Yes.
Then it's going to be hard to play for everyone. It's going to be hard for Smooya. It's going to be hard for the other players if they're thinking about replacing him already, because nobody's really checked in. And at that, like, if that's the case, then I get like any performance in a way can be excused to a certain degree. I think the key element here is that it's sad they couldn't like get it to work chemistry-wise, because I think they actually had a pretty solid roster now. I think Messi is really good. I think Brolin is the best Swedish player, one of them at least. And Crims is obviously good. They have Alex as an in-game leader. Like, they had a good roster, so I think it has to be a chemistry thing, what happened here.
Yes. Yeah. By the way, if people don't know, if what smooya is saying is correct, that they were looking for an AWP essentially during the tournament, that means they basically only gave him one LAN. It was like I am Winter, and that was it, basically. So it can't just be that like he took like that can't be it alone. What do you think, Mouse Nick? Where are you coming in on this one?
Well, yeah. So for people, if people don't follow my own YouTube channel, I mean, I gave a kind of a thorough, more technical breakdown, I'd say, like mechanically, some of the flaws, some of the errors that smooya had in his game. But I do have to, and I didn't really in that video want to speculate on some of the emotional side of things, but because there was this one video that ESL put together, because ESL is actually making side content nowadays with the influx of cash that they have. So they're putting together some stuff. They're actually showing some behind the scenes footage of stuff, and it felt like smooya actually was doing a pretty good job at kind of hyping people up. But if he already knew he had a foot out the door, then it makes me kind of think like, well, and if he knew the cameras are on, then maybe he's just trying to save face for like one last event. So it makes me a little bit cynical in that regard. But I do think that like it's always like it's just a process, because when people are labeled as toxic, you don't just flip a switch and you just cut cold turkey. You're being toxic. It takes a while to amend the things in your behavior that will eventually make you a likable person or an asset in terms of your intangibles. So I have to just figure that wasn't working out. But I will also say like, just look at the personality for Brawlin, for Crims, and kind of even the comms we heard at like Flashpoint, for example, for Fnatic, where it's like everything Fnatic did, their old culture was just so like you wouldn't know the rounds are as hectic as they are based off of how they're talking in the game. But when you look at a guy like smooya, I feel like he's just a guy that's going to overcalm, probably panic in situations, like be like, oh, fuck, or something like that on the mic. Whereas the old, like, even though JW was struggling in a lot of games, like he never was going to like slam the desk or make a statement that he shouldn't, and he's just gonna it's business. It was business for those guys. There were vets in the server, and the way that they communicated things, whereas I don't know if smooya has that. I don't know if he's communicating on the level that professionals like Brolin, Crims, and probably Alex really expect at this point.
Like, obviously, I played with smooya for a short while. I actually think it's one of his strong suits, to be fair, the communication part. Like, I'm not talking about what he's saying, like whether he's toxic or he's hyping up the team. That's not what I'm getting. But in terms of just communicating in CS, like what he wants from me if he comes and takes my position, I think actually that's one of his strong suits. Obviously, he has the advantage of being a native speaker, and I think in international teams especially, that's a huge advantage, because even for like Danes like me, who in general have pretty decent English, it's sometimes hard to articulate yourself in like a split second, and sometimes it's the split second that makes like a good comm a great comm.
Yes, I will say though, like I think Maui was meaning more on the lines of like how it would fit with players like Crims and Brawl, and that was the first thing I thought did when they announced this roster move, was like, mate, like the difference if people don't know is like Mezzi's a pretty quiet player, just a chill guy, he has no ego. Alex is like, whatever, look, he's an IGL, so he has an ego. You should have an ego if you're a good IGL. You have to think you're right, you know better than other people. But even so, he's also a fairly easygoing guy. The problem I had was this: Swedes specifically, Swedes would fight, like smooya's personality to a Swede is just annoying. Like, even the things that you're saying are positive. Like, the joke is, this is why he was suited to, like, an NA team like Chaos Mouse, Nick. That whole vibe of, like, you know, pumping people up and shouting and saying things to the opponent. Like, Swedes don't like that. They really don't. Like, if people don't know, no joke, that is, like, essentially for real why they cut Makaleli from NIP back in the day. Just that he just annoyed them. Shit like that just annoyed them. I'm not even joking. Like, to all of us on camera, we're loving it. You know, you bang the table or you do like a big thing. To them, people like Get Right would just sort of be like, oh, fucking sit down and play the game. Like, it was pissing them off. They want you to be a fucking little Swedish robot like Crimson. I win another 1v4, like, yeah, great. So, unfortunately, this is why a culture clash is a big thing. It's not just that we can all speak English and all work out perfectly. Like, yeah, depends on the player. Same reason, by the way, spoiler, as to why the other way around, when they sent Simple back in the day to Team Liquid, oh, don't worry, even before he'd played a game, me and Eco already were like, it's never going to work out, like, long term. Like, what do you think, 6 months? Like we knew it, because obviously, again, also his personality was never going to culture fit with Team Liquid, where they were all, like, quiet boys doing the fucking home homework. And then Simple walked in, and on day one, he was saying shit that would get you banned from Twitch. Is that enough of a hint for you there, guys? His Twitch account would be banned instantly the moment he'd have arrived in an A if it just been recording like Ice Poseidon style. That's all you need to know. So yeah, culture is a big deal, I think, in these teams. That's also, by the way, the hidden part behind this that is a bit unfair. It's like, realistically, bear in mind they're splitting this whole team apart. And I've even been hearing rumours, like, from what you see, like maybe even Crims or someone's fucking leaving. Maybe they're doing a Fnatic Last Dance and all this shit. Like, there's also a world, I think, where this story was presented as like it's about smooya. But if you look at the Broland story, it also looks to me, mate, like maybe they're just remaking Fnatic, and maybe they're even dumping a bunch of the players for money. So I also think maybe he might have gotten a little bit scapegoated in that sense. Like, clearly they had bigger issues in the roster, or they weren't as committed to the overall roster anyway. This video was kindly supported by Ahmed Hadjou, Iskander, Mac Pugnatio Rajcula, Travis Goff, Adam Ochs, Animosity, Butt Pounder 420, Hades, Jensen Goh, Joseph Ginsburg, Kovacevicd, Tobias Bernasconi, Toucan, William Peyton Lacy, Zoomba, Zyrathenia, and a special thank you goes out to Jerky's Minion as always. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for some of my content? Want to ask me a question in my monthly video AMA? Do you want teasers? Find out who the guests are going to be on my shows. Maybe you want to be part of one of those lengthy but in-depth and interesting discussions about esports with yours truly. Well, if so, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.